Hello there, and welcome back to the Sky Guys podcast as we are covering the latest episode of Skeleton Crew. And you're not in big trouble today. I'm one of your hosts, Mike Phillips. With us here today, as always, and his voice you hear every single week in our narration, and it's going to change a little bit going forward. Pete Consadori's here. Pete, how are you?
Doing well. I'm excited to talk about this episode. I was unavailable last time, so I'm excited to hear what you guys think.
You escaped tetanus the space crab?
Yes, that was it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a very challenging escape here. Also with us today, the emissary to the Republic for this podcast, Nick Fraietta is here. Nick, how are you?
Doing great. We have one episode left, and I'm very excited for how the show's going to end. So I would love to talk about it with the panel.
Yep, and we have the last edition of the panel today. We haven't seen him on the pod, I think, since Ahsoka came out here. I think he wisely skipped the acolyte discourse. Vin Gallo is back with us. Vin, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Happy to be back. Yeah, I skipped the Acolyte. Wasn't my thing, but happy to be back for Skeleton Crew. Really enjoying the show so far.
Yeah, for sure. I know Vin, as you're a parent here. So this is a show that's a lot of fun to be watching with kids.
Yeah, I think my son's a little young. I tried to get him to watch the first episode and he kind of zoned out, but yeah, it's I can't wait for him to watch it maybe in like a year or two.
Yeah, we have a fun show to check out a year or two. And Pete wants to subscribe to the Sky Guys. They do so Apple Podcasts, Google Play, TuneIn, Spotify, Amazon, all usual suspects. Simply search for the Sky Guys favorite podcast platforms and find episodes there. And we're winding down here on Sky Guys for the Skeleton Crew coverage, but we're gonna have some stuff planned in the off season. Then we have a bunch of Andor preseason stuff coming. So make sure you're subscribed to get all the fun stuff.
Yeah, no, it's free. You don't got to worry about paying. Helps us out, helps you out. You get content quicker. So definitely subscribe.
Yep. And Nick, people on social media, how can they do that?
Follow at SkyGuys Podcast on Instagram, Twitter X, and TikTok.
Yep. And speaking of social media, we'll check out our social media comment of the week here. We're going to go to actually back to TikTok. Here's one of our reels from last week, our discussion about the why more people are not watching Skeleton Crew. I think it was a fun conversation here. This comment here is from Ryan M. Luke, who says, if Star Wars and Goonies had a baby, Space Pirates Man, three exclamation points. The alien creatures look fantastic in this show. So big endorsement there, Nick, for Skeleton Crew from
If
Ryan.
you ask me, the comment of the week's the one above it.
Yeah, it's good.
It's good.
Yeah.
That's the comment of the week.
Yeah. Well, I thought this was a more creative way to say it's good.
Yeah, no, definitely. But um, it's nothing else to say. It was good.
It was good here, and
Or excuse me, it is good.
yeah, it is good. And the episode I think was good. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But Nick, we do have some Star Wars news you want to get to, I'm sure.
Yes, both of which I think are nonsense, but I'm going to get to them now.
Yeah.
Number one is James Mangold says his Star Wars movie is about the origin of the Jedi. It is set 25,000 years before the Skywalker saga. Says I'm not interested in being handcuffed by so much lore at this point, and at this point it's almost immovable. You can't please everybody, which I like that comment. I completely agree with him. You get so far away that no one's going to raise an eye. But my thoughts. I don't think this movie's happening.
Yes. Vin, are you aware of the James Mangold project?
I wasn't until you guys mentioned it, but as soon as as soon as I heard what Nikki said, I was like, "There's no way this is happening." They've canceled so many projects, so yeah.
All right. So that's thing one. What's thing two?
Disney is reportedly developing a live-action Star Wars show set at the same time as the KOTOR video game. Again, no chance.
Like, I think they're developing it. I just don't think there's any chance it gets out.
I think there are ideas rumbling off of people. If you count that as development, then I agree. Where they're sitting in a room, they're discussing what it could be like, who we might hire for this, that, but they're not actually making it. If that's what you mean, I agree.
Yeah, I think that's what I mean. Is Pete, I feel like one of the few things in Star Wars right now that has like almost universal approval rating and has not been touched is that old Republic era with the video game. So I can see Disney saying, we need to try and get something in this, and they just don't have anything locked down, really.
Yeah, it's probably just idea stage. I think that a lot of people use development as a precursor to pre-production,
Yeah.
which when you're a video game, person, you think development means they're actually working on it. I don't think that means the same thing in the cinema world. So I think they kind of confuse people a little bit by saying in development. Just say there's ideas. Just say there's some talks about it. It's a possibility. Don't say it's in development because that misconstrues what you're actually doing.
Yeah, Nick, I think the way to put it here, really about inside baseball for the podcast listeners, is like we have a whole list of ideas that we may do in like off-season episodes or future ideas. I'd say that's about where this idea for the Cold War show is. Whereas like it was in development, we actually be working on what this episode actually going to be out.
I agree with that. I think that they talk about these things, they have ideas or what they'd like to do, they bounce ideas off each other, but and that's it.
Yeah, 100 Days of Star Wars Celebration. By then, we might have some answers on what's coming next.
Yeah.
All right. That it for the news here?
I think was there anything else? I think that's it, right?
Yeah, unless you had anything else that I'm not aware of that you seem to find.
No, there is nothing else on my end.
All right, so let's get into this episode here. We're going to be in so much trouble here, episode 7 here. Fern gives the episode title in the middle of the episode here, and a lot of fun, I feel like. Nick, you talked about last week, you set the 2-part finale here, and this does feel very much like a part 1 with a cliffhanger for the 2-part finale. They did get that
It
out.
did. It did. I'm so pleased. I feel like you could have, they wouldn't have ended the show like this, but you could have made this one episode. This was what, 37 minutes, 36 minutes?
Yeah, 37 with the credits.
You could have made this 46, did something really fast right after the scene that we ended on and wrapped the show up, and it would have been fine.
Yeah.
And the fact that we have a whole other episode to go, not 10 minutes to go, assuming at least a half hour, hopefully more. Great. I feel like we have no idea where we're going with this. Really exciting stuff. I think we're set up for a great finale.
Yeah, Vin, what do you think about this episode?
Yeah, I really like this episode. I think, and I wanted to talk about this a little bit, but this is a weirdly dark Star Wars series, especially one with kids. And I really liked they just kept going. They blew through it, and we'll talk about the scene. In the later in the podcast, but they really just ran through that brick wall of like teetering on whether or not this was dark for Star Wars, and I really enjoyed it. I liked being surprised as well.
Yeah, I think for me, the thing I like about this episode is that like we sort of had this preconceived notion about what they're gonna do with Jad on the way in, and we heard from Jad that like you're getting a lot of Jad like focus in episode 7. We assume flashback, he's gonna start turning back, and no, they went the other way. I think it's a nice change of pace for what we come used to expecting in Star Wars.
Yeah, I was kind of waiting for that flip flop a little bit, and him try to help the kids, but it's good character development, and they stay true to course here. And I think not going back was a very smart move for the finale because it just makes it that more interesting.
Yeah, it does, because we'll get to what's going on here, but I think we should get into the episode itself here and go kind of quickly through the plot here. There's not a ton of like detail stuff here. We start on the planet at Attin. The parents are hiding in the woods, building a secure signal beacon for their kids. The security droid show up, start stunning everybody. Somehow have greater accuracy than the stormtroopers and start nailing everybody, except for Fern's mom, Farah. She activates the beacon. They get sent out here. So, Pete, surprised that the security droids have better aim than stormtroopers.
No, I mean they're programmed to be accurate, I guess I would assume, but yeah, interesting scene.
Yeah. Nick, anything stick out to you about this little get together in the woods?
It's kind of funny how to me, it was silly how they were just picking it up one by one and going down. It's just kind of funny, but nothing really stuck out. No.
It was a little bit like capture the flag.
Yeah, it was just like, it was stupid, honestly. There's like one goes down, the next one picks it up, goes down.
Yeah.
And then, eventually it was left with Fern's mother. But
Yeah, Fern's mother activates it on the ship. The kids are on the way back home. They have the corn set up here. Wim's a little down here, Vin, because Vin realizes, like, our adventure's about to end. Or go back home. Like, I regret pushing the button here. I thought this was a nice moment of reflection for Wim, too, because Wim's had this whole, like, arc about, like, realizes how much he's screwed up. He's growing a little bit. He realizes, like, it's just been fun, but you know what? Now I'm going back home, and now I have to go take the assessment test, and I'm going to be stuck in this boring place forever. So, good little more insight as we'll pause before we get to the action of the episode.
Yeah, I like Wim. He's I think where they're going with him is he's not meant for school. He's meant for exploration or adventure, and I'm hoping, we'll see how it goes, but I'm hoping At Attin becomes an open planet and he'll eventually get to leave, more of like kind of like a Luke Skywalker in A New Hope. He wasn't meant for the academy, or he wasn't meant for farming, right? He was meant to be a star pilot and a Jedi. So I kind of see a similar arc here.
You see that here too. We do get the pirates show up at Attin. Get there. We see this very big storm planet barrier here that fools Brutus, and Brutus is like, "This is a toxic waste. He wastes our time." Jod says, and this line caught my eye there, Pete, that At has been hidden for hundreds of years. So hundreds of years we've been hiding from it. At has been hiding from the planet, and SN Thursday basically backs up Jod's story because Tack Renaud says the planet be hidden inside endless storm. So a little bit of defensive measures for At Attin.
Yeah, and I actually like how they did it. It wasn't just some random barrier and the coordinates were hidden. So once you find the coordinates, you can see it. So I think it's a very, very good way to hide a planet. It's a defense mechanism as well. It's not just, smoke and mirrors. And it's well thought out by the creators of the show. I mean, it looks like just a storm planet that's just, gonna wreck any ship that goes through, which we'll find out is pretty true.
Yeah, and Nick, I did notice here, it did bring me some parallels. I know Screen Ram said this is kind of like what Exegol is like in the Rise of Skywalker, is hidden by a barrier. But this reminded me of the Jedi Survivor a little bit with Tanalorr, where you have to go through the loophole to get to the actual planet.
It did. Maybe there's a lot more planets like that, like this in the galaxy. Who knows what we could find? Maybe Earth is out there.
Yeah, I think Vin, they called it, Screen called it box planets, where we have to open the box to get inside.
Yeah, I thought this looked really cool, and I liked how it was kind of like it was much smaller than it appeared, and I thought it was a really creative way to, like I said, believable, right? Like it didn't feel cheap. It was really a really really cool way to hide the planet and reveal At Attin.
Yeah, for sure. Now, this is going on here. Jod just says, you know what? Give me a ship. I'll go in by myself. I'll get a scout ahead for you guys. Brutus wisely doesn't trust him and says, okay, volunteer, please. And he sends in the guy last week who was talking about having his own like farm or like aquarium, whatever it was. This guy dies in the storm. Jod gets tossed in the airlock. But fortunately for him, the Onyx Cinder shows up and he realizes, like, we need that ship to get in the building. It gets lets out by that sympathetic pirate he met last week, Nick.
Yeah, something up with her, huh?
Yeah.
Maybe we were wrong. I said last week it looked like he was doing a Jedi mind trick. It didn't look like he was doing anything to her this week, and she still spoke up. So maybe she had a soft spot for him.
She's a true believer, Nick.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, like we're led to believe, or at least they tell us this is basically his crew, or it was his crew.
Yes.
You would imagine among how many people you think there are, about 50 of them?
Yeah.
There's probably 20 or so loyalists, right?
Yeah, probably is keeping their mouths shut because
At least.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if Brutus is as bad as a leader as I think he is.
Yeah, he's pretty bad.
So I would think that it is definitely believable that there are people out there or crewmates out there who still believe in, I guess we'll call him Silvo.
Yeah. Yeah, they know him as Silva. We know it was on 65 other things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, the pirates grab the ship, the tractor beam, Pete. The kids decide we're going to play defense here. When the ship gets opened up, they use that claw thing we saw earlier in the show to just grab Bruce and try and say, like, let us go. You can have him back. Jod says, what, this is my opportunity here, where he just says, what, screw this, kills Brutus, takes command of the pirates, says, I'm the captain now, basically. Brutus sucks, come with me, and we'll take control of this ship here. So great job by Jod to take advantage of the situation here, get himself back in charge of the pirates.
Yeah, it was pretty badass too. I mean, it's very pirate-esque. He's on brand right now, which is great. So, like I said before, the character development of Jod is really really good. He saw that opportunity with Fern. Didn't obviously kill her, but challenged her and said, "Just yield. Like I don't want to hurt a kid." And now he sees that opportunity again with an adult being. I don't know what the species is, and decides to take the life instead of challenge to a duel.
Yeah, Vin, I know Brutus is a terrible leader. We're not big Brutus fans here on the podcast, but I think he had it coming.
Yeah, I mean, I was happy to see Brutus get what he deserved. This is the moment I was also talking about in the intro. Is this is kind of dark for Star Wars,
Yeah.
just shooting a defenseless person, even though he was
Yeah.
a piece of shit. But yeah, no, I was happy to see Brutus finally out of the picture. He did a whole lot of nothing, and he served his purpose, I guess, for the story.
Nick, any last words for our fallen pirate captain?
No, I found it a little odd. Maybe there's something about the pirate code that I don't really know, but when he got killed, wouldn't you think his crewmates would just shoot Jod?
Well, I mean, to be fair, Jod also makes the argument like, you guys know he sucked, and you know he was taking you nowhere.
I guess.
I
Again,
also
like it was your leader, and as soon as your leader gets in trouble, you defend your leader until he's not your leader anymore. But I guess that moment happened like that, and all of a sudden he wasn't the leader anymore, I guess.
Yeah. All right. So I think anything else, Pete, you wanted to add something on that?
no, I just think that the episode before Jod started to kind of switch the crew. I think that was like the first inkling of it, that the crew was, or Brutus was losing his crew a little bit. That's at least what I took away from it. I could be wrong in that, but it was almost like Jod was trying to show how much of a leader he is in those moments and get the crew behind him so that Brutus would follow along. And I feel like once that happened, the dynamic changed about that group, at least when Jod was there. So maybe that's why they didn't attack. They were kind of on Jod's side already from the beginning, because they've been working for Brutus this whole time, and they've been, like you said, hungry all the time. And he's promising them a lot more than Brutus did.
Yeah. I mean, Vin, it's a very hard to, when you theoretically have this guy saying, look, unlimited treasure over there. And Bruce like, yeah, there's nothing there. Let's leave. Like, at least want to take the shot and find the unlimited treasure.
Yeah, I mean, Jod is more charismatic than Brutus. It's in the name. He's brutal. Um, and I think the opening scene of the whole series shows that this is kind of a ragtag pirate group, and
Yeah.
they haven't found any real treasure. So the promise of finding one, like you said, it's hard to turn down.
It is hard to turn down here. And at this point, the kids get grabbed on the ship. They're playing the message from the parents here, and we got some noble stuff in this message. Nick, Wim's dad apologized to Wim and says, "I'm sorry I drove you away." So that was a bit of like redemptive character work for Wim's dad.
Did I miss something?
Yeah.
What was the point of the message?
The point of the message was to tell them how to get home without giving the coordinates away.
They didn't say anything.
They did. Farrah at the end says, "I can't tell you how to get home, but like tell you that coordinates, but you have to go find our public emissary. They'll bring you home."
I guess. I guess.
I mean, here's the other thing, though. I mean,
Yeah, how are they supposed to know what that even is?
right? Nick's right. Well, are they just going to know where to find a Republic emissary wherever the hell they are? So technically, they didn't really give them any information. Like to
We
them,
told
they
you come
may,
home,
but-
find a way home.
yeah.
And then, are they talking about the old Republic or the new Republic?
They have no idea.
Now we don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
We thought Old Republic, but because we thought it was thousands of years. Now we're saying hundreds of years, so it could be either.
Could be High Republic era.
It's definitely not the new Republic. Not like after Return of the Jedi Republic. Definitely not that. It's either
No.
Republic from the prequels or 1,000 years ago.
Yeah. I think it's probably at the turn between Old and High Republic, basically, because they're still minting the Old Republic credits over there.
Yeah.
So, well, this is going on here. They get the message, and I think you would fair to say it's not a great message for 4 children without telling like, oh, find a Republic emissary. Like, wait, where?
Maybe they know. I mean, it's just a detail that maybe it's just left out. It's something they discussed, but they probably don't, considering they don't talk about anything outside of At Attin ever. You would think they don't talk to the kids about this, but maybe they've had conversations like there are Republic emissaries at all these different spaceports throughout the galaxy, and they look like this or something like that. Like maybe, but it doesn't sound like it.
So, like, I mean, like, you could make the argument. I know they have this whole procedure, what we see at the end of the episode, like, oh, when an emissary shows up, like the middle of the field, like, lifts up in the air so the ship can land. So maybe it's like they say to the kids, like, oh, like, the emissary is like the policeman. Go find a policeman and he'll help you find your way home.
Perhaps.
Anyway, so this is going on here. Fern and Wim decide, let's try and get our ship back here. Fern gets SM-33 back on her side with the very mature tactic of unclaimsies. Vin, that seems to work. To get SM-33 back with them.
Yeah, he says close enough. So I liked it. It's it's a kids Goonies type show. So I liked that they brought that they called that back.
Yeah. So SM-33 goes into badass mode, kicks the pirates off the ship, or so we think. They end up going in here, and then we see that we go through the barrier here, and they are mysteriously clear to return. And Wynn theorizes that the ship is from At Attin. So when I saw this happen, Nick, like your theory immediately made a lot more sense about what's going on with Tak Renat, the supervisor, and this ship.
Yeah, why don't you refresh the people?
Yeah, including Vin.
And including Vin. I'll give you the floor, please.
This is your theory. You can
Please.
Yeah.
Because you found the connection better than I did, so you please.
Yeah, so the theory is that Nick came up with a few weeks ago is that the supervisor and the pirate Tak Renat are the same person, and that he found this planet. He's been staying there, just basically collecting unlimited treasure for who knows how long. And the fact now that his ship is clear to go through is from this planet lends more credence to, oh, they're the same guy.
Yeah, Nick, this was the theory that I was texting you about earlier that I thought the same thing and I didn't hear your theory. Yeah, I mean, there's in this episode especially, there's the mysterious supervisor. There's going to be a reveal. So who's left, right? So I felt like it has to be Tak Renat. So
also, that episode when they were with that owl lady, what's her name, Kim?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that when they had the recording? No, that wasn't the episode with the recording.
No, that was the spa planet.
The episode with the recording was the spa planet.
Where they ran to the Lorax.
Episode 5, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that episode they showed the recording of Tak Renat and the face is blurred out. And I don't think they blur out the face unless one of two things. Either the audience, me and you, know who it is, or the characters would know who it is. So now I'm starting to think
the characters know who it is.
But do the characters know who the supervisor is?
Well, I mean, Fern's mom works for him.
But does Fern know? Maybe if you like, I was under the impression, and I could easily be wrong. I have no evidence to support this, but I'm under the impression that the citizens of At Attin, unless you work for the supervisor's office, don't know what he looks like. But that could easily be wrong.
I mean, Pete, couldn't it just be? I could see this to maybe like where like they have like a holiday party or something, and like Fern's mom brings her to the party, and she says, "Oh, hi, supervisor!" Like and goes and hangs out the other kids.
I think that the characters know who the supervisor is. I feel like it's like one of those main figures, public figureheads that it's not like the Wizard of Oz, like don't look behind the curtain kind of a thing. I will say though, if Tak Renat and the supervisor are one and the same, my assumption is he's not of the human species because it's been a long time since he's been a pirate, right?
Yeah, and we've also went over this that someone did some deep dive on Reddit that they looked at the hologram that was faded and put it back together, if you will. They did some weird research. I don't know how they do that. And the supervisor is of the same species as Hondo.
Okay.
Gotcha.
I'm not saying it is Hondo.
Right.
I want it to be Hondo.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's Hondo, but it is the same. According to that could easily have just been something to throw you off too. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So that's going on here. And we find out that Ja did manage to sneak back aboard the ship. He takes over with his lightsaber, beheads SM-33, and then takes the kids hostage again. He basically threatens their parents and says, you know, like, I know the hologram was useful. I know who your parents are, so I know who to kill and dismember when I get to the planet. And then I love the parallel shot to Anakin, like, wiping the lightsaber from the younglings with Ja doing to the kids here.
Yeah, it was direct callback from Revenge of the Sith. Yeah, I don't know if you guys had read anything. I think I read this on Reddit that people are theorizing now with that scene that Jod is actually one of the younglings that escaped from Anakin, and which is why he knows how to use the Force and knows kind of how to use a lightsaber. And that scene was like foreshadowing it. But it was a cool scene for sure.
Yeah,
our theory on the podcast has been that Jod was a Padawan during Order 66 and escaped, where he wasn't a full-fledged Jedi yet, which is why he doesn't follow the Jedi faith, but he was trained and knows how to use a lightsaber and the Force.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, P, you surprised we're 7 episodes into this and haven't really gotten any Jod backstory, period.
I'm happy we haven't. I
Yeah.
think that leaving a little bit of mystery for him is good for the mystery, right? I mean, it's it. Unfortunately, I think Star Wars maybe learned their lesson when it comes to flashback episodes because, like them or not, the majority of people watching flashback episodes in Star Wars Disney Plus era don't like them, right? And not to say that all the flashbacks are bad. They're not. It just doesn't land well with audiences for some reason. So I think they may have learned their lesson and said, look, this is a mysterious guy. You don't even know his real name. We're just going to keep it that way.
Yeah.
And I think the less they tell you, the more you like knowing the character, right? And figuring it out as it goes on and figuring out this mysterious guy. So I think it's a smart play by Disney and then the show writers for this show.
Yeah, so Vin, I think is sort of like response to like the midichlorian debate from Phantom Menace. Like it like we're trying to explain the Force really turned off some people here. Like it's okay if we don't know exactly where Jod came from. It's okay to know like he's got pirate background, knows how to use the Force, and he's got questionable morals. I think that's good enough for us in the show.
Yeah, I think so. Honestly, I think so too. I don't really want to know more about him because I was the other thing is when you have too many interconnections, I feel like it makes the galaxy feel small and it shouldn't, right? So the more connections you have to other movies, like it starts to not really make sense for how big the Star Wars galaxy is. So I agree with Pete. I think it should just be as ambiguous as possible.
We also we were led to believe going into this episode. I think either you sent a tweet about it, Mike, or something like that.
Yeah, there was a tweet. I'll pull it up here.
Yeah, the tweet was that this episode, episode 7, was supposed to be a Jod backstory episode. Something
Yeah.
that he said, right? Something Jude Law said.
Yeah, Jude Law revealed tomorrow. The Skeleton Crew will reveal Jod's backstory. I think that might have been misquoted. It may have said like Jod's motivation maybe was more detailed.
Yeah,
Is it because
or he's just lying.
Yeah, I mean, it's that, I think, 100%, but like, is it because he just refers to himself as Captain Silvo and that's it? Like, that's his name, that's who he is, right? Like, I mean, is that more so what he was talking about, maybe?
Maybe because I think it played more of Jod's motivations than like Jod's actual like history. I think
Because remind me, the helmet and the guy that we saw in the very beginning of the show was him, right?
that was it. It's him. He's wearing the helmet again this episode.
Right. So maybe that's where he was like, yeah, it reveals my backstory. I'm the guy from the beginning of the show, which I think we all speculated anyway.
I think we learned that episode 3. We learned that for sure.
I missed it then.
What was it
Sure.
that we learned? I'm sorry, I missed it.
In episode 3, when Jod's going back in to find SM-33 and he finds the old pirate, he's like, oh, are you on trial for mutiny or whatever? Or like that's when we learned that he's the same guy we saw in the pilot in the very first opening sequence.
Yes.
Yep. All right, so that's going on with that, and we'll go back to the plot here real quick. The parents are being questioned about the security droid. They get very vague answers in there, and then it shuts down. We get the voice of the supervisor announces that emissaries arriving, and we've learned that. And I don't know if you're aware, Pete, the voice of the supervisor is one Stephen Fry, the British actor. So I don't think it's Stephen Fry himself. Maybe Stephen Fry voicing an alien, but like that's who is the voice of the supervisor.
Now that I think is smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
I think that is robotic a little bit. It sounds very not. I don't want to say not human because it's a Star Wars. There's a lot of not human species in it, but it doesn't seem like it's authentic. It sounds like almost like a droid is saying it.
You think it's AI basically?
Sure, we'll call it AI, Star Wars technology to make the voices whatever. So I think that the supervisor is a real person, but under the guise of maybe a different voice or something.
So in other words, Wizard of Oz.
A little bit, but I know I just said it's not like the Wizard of Oz, but I still think that they know what the guy looks like.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. And KV's parents realize that it's them because they can like have a beacon or something that tracks on here. John and the kids get off the ship. Security, and by the way, Vin, imagine if like you're just happening to be having lunch on this planet, like in the middle of the park, and they're like, the emissary's coming, get up and run, because the whole field just turns into a launch pad, landing pad.
Yeah. I was surprised how surprised they were that the entire field just opened up into a hole. So it either tells me, well, I assume they've never actually gotten an emissary.
Not in a long time, at least.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it was pretty. That was a cool scene.
Yeah. I did think that was funny watching everybody scramble like hell. And then John and the kids get off the ship and the security droids are like, "Oh, you're the emissary." He's like, "Yes, yes, I am the emissary. Like, take me to your leader. I need to communicate with my ship." And they're like, procedure says we go to the mint. He's like, "Okay, I'm good with that." So John quickly adapting the situation here. They go to the mint here. One of the kids tries to return one of the droids says, "Oh, these are the missing kids. Let's turn to their parents." And John says, "You know what? Keep them on my ship for safety." And they're like, "Okay, Mr. Emissary." So these droids are terrible at their job speed.
I
The droids.
I don't know if they take things seriously though on that planet, right? Like, yes, as much as you don't want communication to leave, I get that. It just doesn't seem like there's really much consequence in this planet because they know they're set. And they know that even if someone finds them and tries to get into the planet, they're going to be destroyed.
Yeah.
So like I feel like they have this, it's not a false sense of confidence, but they have this confidence knowing like even if they find us, it doesn't matter. They can't get in, or they're going to think it's a storm, or it doesn't matter, right? So like, I don't even think there's really consequences saying this. We'll stun you. We'll put you back in your house, and be a good worker for our planet, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, Vin, no, I think my point is I think the security droids are pretty ineffective, and I just love that they like to even like say, "Oh, can we see some identification that you're the emissary?" Just take him at his word.
Yeah, that was a frustrating scene, honestly. But it's funny because it came right after the scene where I think it was Fern's mom
Yeah,
just says, "You droids don't listen," and then it turns over and they literally
just
they're just nonsensical.
yeah,
It makes zero sense.
they just listen. Yeah. So anyway, let's go on here. We get to the mint, and one John immediately says, I need to talk to my other ship. Like I'm the Republic emissary. Like I need to communicate with my other ship." And they're like, "Talk to the supervisor." He's like, "Okay, get him and get your finest refreshment speed." So he's definitely living it up.
Oh yeah, for sure. And what I was trying to say as I was using the other scene to just to clarify, I was using the other scene to explain that these droids don't care. The people that are supposed to be here are supposed to be here. So they probably think this person is emissary, that they're supposed to be here. They got through the thing, and that's safe to do whatever they need to do. They're programmed that way.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we get one of my favorite scenes in the episode here, which is Jod finding the vault, which is one of 1,139 vaults on the planet. He goes in, he sees all the current coins, or credits here, and then he's sitting there. It's like, should I touch it? Should I touch it? Should I touch it? And then he just goes all Scrooge McDuck on them. On things. It looked like I thought for a second we were gonna have him doing snow angels in the middle of the credits. That would have been hilarious.
Well, how much? I mean, there were millions, billions of not. I didn't even know how much each one is worth. Is there each one? I don't know, but there were millions in that room,
Multiply that by 1,139 also.
which is there could easily be hundreds of billions of dollars.
Yeah, like you're set for life if you manage to get this planet.
You're set for life if you took one of those carts out.
Yeah, if you empty one vault, like you would be like literally
Bro,
like
forget the vault. One cart, which is like 1/1,000th of a vault, you're set for life and generations. Based on what we're seeing with one of those coins, was like they were laughing when they were trying to buy food with it. I'd say one of those coins is probably worth the equivalent of like $1,000 or $10,000 in our U.S. currency today.
yeah.
But
Uh
it'd be set for life on one cart and for generations.
yeah, and Vin, did you like the Scrooge McDuck scene with Jod?
I did. I liked the scene. I thought making the CG like the credits being CGI looked terrible, like really, really bad. If you go back and watch that scene,
Yep.
like even Jude Law does a really terrible job of pretending that they're real. I liked, what the scene was telling us, obviously, that he finally got what he wanted and that's all he cares about is money. But holy cow, like come on, you couldn't have made some like fake fake plastic credits. It was insane.
The physics were terrible on it.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
One
exactly. It
off
was
the
like
top, and half of it falls off it's
I
like,
was
what happened?
confused. I was
Exactly.
confused. I didn't understand when I was like,
it
why did
didn't
the car
even
like go on top? That didn't make any sense.
The way they put those credits in the cards like a very poorly built Jenga tower.
Yep.
It just defies physics. I know we're watching Star Wars, so it's like we're not going to criticize physics in this show because we're talking about the Force and crap. But like, He takes one off the top, and all of a sudden, like
all
a
fell.
mound just starts like sand, just starts falling. These are like metal credits.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah. Like I said, they literally just wanted the Scrooge McDuck joke. So why they did that.
He could have just went like this, big, a big handful, and
Exactly.
look, there's a lot of things they could have done, is what I'm trying to say. Easy things to implement, but
Yeah.
I digress.
I think it's funny too, because like if we had done the Scrooge McDuck bit, I think they kind of went halfway with it with the credits spilling off after he takes one off. Like I think at this show, how ridiculous it is, you kind of got to go all the way and let him just be doing snow angels in the middle of the credits.
I agree. That would have been good.
Yeah. Anyway, so just sort of wrap up the episode here. Like the parents somehow get past these terrible security droids, get into the mint. They find their kids, and then John happens to walk back out, lights the lightsabers, holding them like at lightsaber hostage point. That's our cliffhanger for the week, then. So I thought a good place to cut in the halfway point. Although, like Nick will tell you, this is very reminiscent of what they did to an Acolyte episode.
What about me?
Uh,
What about Acolyte?
this is sort of how episode 4 of Acolyte ended too, with the lightsabers all being.
Oh yeah, it's a two-part episode. It's one episode they split in two parts.
Yes.
Well, it's also episode 5 of this
Yeah, 5 and
The
6
show
were,
ended, right?
were really one too.
yeah, but what I'm saying, it ended with a lightsaber light, right?
Yep.
He was when they were on the spa planet. It was the same
Yep.
exact ending.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what happened. The lightsaber looked cool. It was like silver and gold a little bit. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a High Republic era lightsaber.
Oh, well, good to know.
That's why it's got all the gold and silver hues and stuff. And it's basically they did it that way, so they have another toy to sell at Galaxy's Edge in about
yeah.
6 months.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, it looked like Palpatine's
Yeah.
lightsaber. I know it's not. It just looks.
Nick, how are they going to market that lightsaber at Galaxy's Edge? They just call it Jod's lightsaber.
Let's see what happens in the finale. Maybe they call it Wim's lightsaber.
Yeah, we'll see about that here. And I think anything else you guys want to get to the episode before I have a fun idea before we get to the trackers and credit.
No, I'm just excited for next episode. I mean, we'll talk about this when we get to our predictions, but I think we're set up for, like I said at the top of the episode here, I think there's only about 10 minutes left of content they need to do. But the fact that they're going to give us at least 30, hopefully 40, it's awesome. Can't wait. I feel like this is the first Star Wars show that we've had there. Usually we sit here at this penultimate episode on the podcast and we say, they still got to do this, this, and this. How are they going to fit this in one episode? Finally, we have it where we're like, pretty much everything's figured out here. The only thing we got to figure out is there's a big tension going on with this lightsaber, and who's the supervisor? Other than that, we're good. We know it all.
And you got some pirates hanging out outside the barrier.
Yeah, sure. But honestly, if they just went away and they got stuck out there, would we even question it?
No, probably not. But I say
They finally did it. They finally hit on everything before the finale, where we can actually have a finale that's going to be interesting, rather than we got to solve 6 things and close the show.
Yeah, something Acolyte did not do notably.
I mean, yes, Acolyte didn't do, but honestly, almost none of the shows have.
I think Mando 1 kind of did.
Mando 1 did, but there weren't as many mysteries, I feel like. It was much more grounded.
Mando 2 did well though. I mean, the mystery at the end, right? I mean, they wrapped that up, I think.
Mando 2 was also kind of like the two-parter, kind of like this.
I'm more talking about these one-season shows like Obi-Wan,
Yeah, that's fair.
Ahsoka, forget Boba Fett. Boba Fett, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, and Acolyte all suffered from the same thing.
Well, both of them were also hijacked by another show in the middle of its own show.
Boba Fett suffered from itself.
All right, so let's get to a little fun game here. StarWars.com put out a fun quiz the other day. I think we're going to play as a group on the podcast, and this will be a fun activity to sort of get us in the move of the finale here. This is a quiz they put out here. Which Star Wars skeleton crew character will be your BFF? I think we're going to play as a podcast team and figure out who's going to be our fifth wheel and this fifth member of this crew.
Oh, we're not going to do this individually.
No, we'll do this as a collective.
Okay.
So I think we're going to take the quiz. So I think it's fun to have consensus here. So what's your go-to snack? Chocolate, chips, protein bar, popcorn, nuts, or I don't snack? Vin, what are you feeling?
Feeling chocolate.
Chocolate sounds good to me, Nick, right?
It's not, I mean, this is why I thought we were going to do it separate. I don't eat chocolate really. Not that I don't eat chocolate, but I almost never do.
So what do we
I
get
love,
you for
I love chocolate,
Valentine's
but I
Day?
never have it.
Yeah. Is it?
What are we supposed to do for Valentine's Day for you, Nick? I can't send you chocolates.
Listen. I don't. Not that I don't eat chocolate. I love chocolate. I never really own it. I never really have it in the house. I don't eat it, so it's not my go-to snack. It's like last on the list for me.
We have to send her the flowers, Pete.
If you want to say chocolate, go ahead, but it's not my go-to snack.
All right.
I do love it, but I never have it.
We'll go consensus rules on this one. So,
Sure.
all right. You received some exciting news. Who are you sharing with first? My childhood best friend, my parents, my journal, my pet. I already made TikTok, or I keep it a secret. So, Nick, start. What was your inclination on this one?
Based on these options, which do not list what I would actually share news with, I guess I would say I'd keep it a secret.
Pete, are we secret keepers?
No, I'm just going to be funny and say my pet.
Vin?
I would say my childhood best friend. I guess, Mike, you're going to be the tiebreaker here.
I'm going with Pete. The pet sounds fun.
Hell yeah.
All right. How would you like to unwind after a long day? A relaxing bubble bath, reading a favorite story, playing video games. I know that's Nick's answer here. Going to the gym, napping, or watching TV. So, Nick, I'm assuming that's the correct answer for you.
It's actually not. I love to play video games, but after a long day, I'm way too tired to do it. It's watching TV.
Vin,
Watching TV.
Pete, you good with that?
Give me a TV for 250, Bob.
All right, so TV it is. Where would you hide something
These are
valuable?
at the top of the list, but it gotta be you gotta pay attention. It does use your brain a little bit. I gotta sit there and just melt.
Yeah. Where would you hide something valuable? My garage, a locked drawer, buried outside, obviously, in a safe, under my bed, in the fridge. I think for ridiculousness, I'm voting for in the fridge.
This is a treasure.
Where's something valuable?
I hide it.
Food is valuable to me, so I'll say fridge.
Vin?
I'll say fridge too. Let's go fridge.
Yeah, just go ahead. See what we get. I mean, the
It's
real
gonna be
answer
the most
is safe, but
ridiculous thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it will be ridiculous here. What keeps you up at night? Stress about work, school, or work, dream about the future, plan my next project, the mysteries of life, financial stress, or Jod?
This is deep.
Jod keeps me up at night, for sure. Jude Law just stands in the corner. It's really creepy.
Nick?
The mysteries of life.
Vin?
Say the mysteries of life as well.
I'll go with the mysteries of life. We'll be
That's fair. I think that's fair.
Question 6. How you like to learn new things? Find a great teacher, ask my friends, ask my parents, ask a friend, figure it out on my own, how-to videos, or books. I'll give you first crack, Nick.
I would say a video, how-to video.
Yeah, we're definitely YouTube people, I feel like.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree
that
with
feels
that.
right.
All right. Who's your favorite Jedi? Obi-Wan Kenobi, Cal Kestis, Yoda, Jocasta Nu, Porter Engle, any one of the Skywalkers.
You gotta be Porter Engle, right?
Jar Jar on there? Can we have a write-in or?
You gonna say he's Jar Jar?
Jocasta is the librarian lady, right?
Yeah.
I never liked her.
I
I'd say it's gotta be Porter, right? I mean, the fact that he's on this,
yeah, I think
comic character.
I think that'd be funny if we pick Porter.
Sure.
Okay. 3 more questions. What
Jeez.
Star Wars planet would you love to visit most? Coruscant, Tatooine, Kashyyyk, Corellia, Naboo, or Mandalore? I know Nick's,
There's only 2 options on this list. I think anything else is ridiculous.
I would agree with this.
It's got to be either Naboo or Coruscant.
That's my assumption here. I would go.
Anything else is ridiculous.
I would say Mandalore pre the war.
Yeah, that's fair. It could be. I still wouldn't do it, but I mean, visit. You got to think like. I think the answer is just Naboo because it's Italy and it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Space
But
Italy.
like Coruscant would be a cool place to go also, but I feel like it's a little hectic. It's like going to New York City. Maybe
Yeah.
since we're all from this area, that sucks. If you're not from New York City,
Yeah.
then that sounds like a lot of fun. But
I think we're in agreement. Naboo is the answer here.
Yeah.
All right. Question 9. What's your favorite music genre? Pop, rock, punk, electronic, classical, or R&B?
You already know mine.
I think it's a rock group.
Let's go rock.
Rock and roll.
All right.
We're gonna
Last
get
one.
burned.
Yeah. How does surprise make you feel? Stressed, excited, anxious, scared, amused, or grateful? Vin, I'll let you lead off here.
Anxious.
Nick,
I'd say grateful.
Pete,
I'd go anxious.
I'll go anxious. So before I click this in, you have a prediction of who we're getting.
We're getting burned.
C3, whatever the hell his numbers are.
KB, you meant?
The droid.
No, the
Oh, the
droid.
droid. Is he an option?
I don't know. We'll find
I
out.
think we're getting Neil.
Oh, then we only get the kids, right?
We may get Neil because we just said anxious for surprises.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
see.
I don't think we're getting KB. I think I'm pretty sure about that. All right, so anxious. Let's see who we got. We got Neil.
Oh,
Yay!
Never fear, Neil is here. Loyal, lovable, and downright adorable. Having Neil as a best friend is like winning the friend jackpot. He may be gentle, but don't let that fool you. He's also very brave, willing to fight fiercely, defend his friends. See what Neil gets up to next in Star Wars Skeleton Crew on Disney Plus. So Neil joined our crew, guys.
All right.
I'm happy with that. I
I
feel
did
good
that
about that.
quiz on my own when you sent it, and I got burned.
You feel like a fern.
I got burned.
Like
Yeah.
the plant or
The child.
trying to be funny. It doesn't work. I've tried. I'll be over.
You know why it didn't work? Because you genuinely looked like you didn't know.
Yeah,
It
What's
was
the
too-
part of it?
It was too serious where I actually thought you didn't know the character's name.
Yeah, I was like, oh, he just doesn't know the character.
Nah, I'm not paying attention to the show at all. I didn't even know the droid's number. I'm all messed up today.
All right, so next up, you'll go to the character draft, which is not updated again, but this is what we had going into the season, Vin, so I'll let you check it out here. My team was Hondo Onaka, Emphas Nest from Solo, and Mayfeld from Mandalorian. Pete took Mando, Chopper, and Jason Dula. Nick had Carson Tava, Zeb, and Grogu. So I think we're on our way to a second show shutout after Andor.
I mean, I've never won, so
I think Carson Tava could show up. And then I didn't even think about Hondo, but he's a pirate, so who knows? He could show up in a cameo in the last episode.
We've had two near misses with these because Nick was convinced when the X-Wing showed up in episode 3 that Carson was going to be flying one of them.
The fact that they didn't show him flying one of them leads you to believe they are purposely not showing the pilot because they're just not going to show him.
Yeah. And also, Vin, I don't know if you're aware about this Easter egg. Hondo's ship was in the background when they were at the spaceport in episode 2, but we didn't see Hondo. So I think that might
God,
be.
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I saw Hondo actually a few days ago. I took my son on Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run for the first time, so
Did he
I
offer
got to see him.
Did he offer you a business opportunity?
He did not.
Yeah.
Well, he did. We had
Be
to
nice to
smuggle,
just
we had to
say, let's-
smuggle some coaxium.
Yeah.
Must be nice to just say, let's go on Smuggler's Run today, and then just go home.
That's what we did.
Well, unlike us, we have to hop on a plane for like 3 hours and then drive 2.5 hours to Orlando.
It was pretty nice.
Yeah, it's pretty nice here. We also got to update our trackers here. Just 2 trackers here. So, Nick, we got 2.
Oh, before we get there, Vin, there has been. We're gonna have to call our guests this because none of them are gonna get it.
Yeah.
There has been one cameo in the show, someone that we could have drafted, who did appear in the show. You have 10 seconds. Who?
Was it the hut
Yeah,
in the
Oh,
hot tub?
you got it.
Was that the one that was in? Was it Mando or?
Oh,
It was,
no.
it was one of the twins from Boba Fett. Yeah, he got it. All right,
Oh, there you go.
Maybe we'll
I
stop
just- I
asking
just-
the guess because he got it.
Yeah. Yeah, so like anyway, that counted. So like he's one of the cameos we got this season. So I'm like the only way we actually really could have drafted theoretically because I don't think either of us would have drafted a battle droid or like the dancing holograms from the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Then they wouldn't even count, honestly. They're not specific characters.
All right, so 2 trackers update here, Nick. We got 2 more named pirates this week. We got Hona and Pax, who Jock gives orders to after he takes command and kills Brutus. So 10 named pirates this season.
That's less than I would have thought, honestly.
Well, it's just sort of like the Mandalorian thing in season 3 when they had all these Mandalorians. They only named like 6 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Pete, we're counting Republic emissaries and their alias for Jod. So 6 aliases for Jod this season.
So it's a lot. We may get another one in the finale.
Yeah, we might. So Next up here, go to our MVP, LVP board. These are the best and worst characters as rated by us over the course of the season through 6 episodes here. Since Pete was not here last year, he'll let us. You tell us real quick who you gave the MVP and the LVP to.
So I gave my MVP last week to Wim.
Yep.
And then my LVP I gave to SM33.
This is updated.
This is updated. I have
This
Pete.
includes Pete's, I mean?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So the leaderboard here: Neil Longbottom, as coined by Pete, +5. Jod, aka Captain Silvo, aka Crimson Jack, aka Dash Zenton, aka Job Exam, aka Professor Umiam Gorlox, aka Republic Emissary, +4. Fern, +4. That's a tie for second. KB, +3. And the writers from Pete and the premiere, +1. So only 5 in the positive for the whole show.
Because all the positives are being hogged by certain people.
Yeah. The LEPs. Wim made a climb up the board. He's now up to -1. He's almost out of the negatives. Security droids and Hana, Pete's favorite flipping character, -1. -2s are Wim's dad and the spa guards. Our three-way tie at the bottom of the leaderboard. Brutus, Hana's dad, and SM33 down at the bottom, -3. So we're going to go ahead now and start updating this one for this week. So, Vin, I believe you're up first. Who is the MVP of the week?
I think you got to go with Jod. He's dominating this episode, so he gets the +1.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
I gotta give it to Jod. I mean, he kills Brutus. He's no longer gonna be thrown out of an airlock. He's right now. He's got the treasure all to himself, and he's got a lightsaber and a bunch of stupid droids thinking that he is the emissary. So he's in a great spot. So Jod gets the MVP here. Pete, where are you going?
Yeah, Jod. I just think the character development has brought him to a really great place in this episode, and it was a very strong episode for him.
Nick, is it a sweep?
Yeah. Remember what I said last week is why I gave him the LVP is he lost the most in the episode. He won the most in this one.
Yeah. I mentioned the Fern for getting SM33 to flip back with unclaimsies, though. That was a
The kids really, all the kids did what they like. What are they expected to do? Is the guy with the lightsaber threatening them? Like they weren't really expected to do anything, and they held their own. So really honor a bunch to all of them, honestly.
All right. LVP, there's 2 clear options this week. I just hope both get recognized, but I'm gonna start off with Brutus because he's dead. Very simple. He lost command of his ship. He got killed by Jod, a guy who was going to have to throw out an airlock, and was completely clueless the whole way through. So Brutus gets the LVP from me. Pete?
I'm gonna give it to Brutus, but I also kind of want to give it to the guy who volunteered. Like the Star Wars Davy Jones. I don't know what his name is, but he was just like, yeah, I'll go. Screw it. Let me figure it out, and then just gets absolutely murked. So
we could put it on the board if you want. Say I volunteered.
I don't want to skew the results for a character that's not really main. So we'll go with Brutus.
I mean, Nick, that was also a stupid move by Brutus too, because if that thing was dangerous, why not just let Jod? He gets himself blown up. You solve the problem.
Yep, I'm giving it to Brutus for many reasons. That's one of them. Another one is it's like you're not trusting him, but you're also trusting him. It's like everything he's doing as a leader is wrong. He's letting him out. He's putting him in there. Like listening to him in the first place was a disaster. Not listening to him is a disaster. It's like when he chooses to listen, it goes wrong. When he chooses not to, it goes wrong. It's just everything he could possibly do wrong as a leader, he's doing.
Yeah, so that's a mistake here. Vin, are you making a sweep on Brutus? Do you have anywhere else you want to go?
I am. I'm going for Brutus. The decision to not let Jod go through the barrier was so dumb. It made no sense because if you thought it wasn't going to work, then if it doesn't work, you get rid of him. If it does work, it's a win-win. Yeah, so I'm going with Brutus. I was going to go with Wim for his very, very terrible attempt at going against he tried to fight somebody. It went terribly, but Brutus is worse.
My other option would have been the security droids because they're so useless.
Yeah, they're pretty terrible.
I will say it. I feel like we've actually think we've said the opposite on this podcast before, but I just don't agree. I think Brutus looked terrible.
Yeah,
terrible. I think it looked very clearly like someone wearing a Halloween mask.
I agree. It felt like
it looked like I was watching Michael Jackson's Thriller video.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Like it didn't because you know what it was, Nick? It felt too Earth-like. Like there was like you could like it just felt like a guy wearing a wolf's mask that you can find on Earth. You know what I mean? It wasn't like
Yeah.
there was nothing alien about him.
Yeah,
Like
here it is again for the YouTube version. It looks like
yeah,
Pete, I don't know if you watch Power Rangers. It feels like a bad Power Rangers monster.
it looks like who's the gold guy in Power Rangers? It looks exactly like him, just not gold.
Goldar.
Yeah, that's who it looks like.
That's a real name. I'm sorry. That sounded like you just made that up, Mike. It's like, what's the guy's name who was in gold? Goldar. No.
Oh, it does look like.
Gold guy.
Yeah, Google it. It looks exactly like him. It's
It does.
insane.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Yeah, no, it's
The eyes
No.
too. He looks exactly like him.
look, it is what it is. I rather them spend the money and the budget on the storyline and giving us the product that they did than that. I mean, at the end of the day, you guys are 100% right. It doesn't fit. It doesn't, but it's something I feel like we can overlook a little bit.
All right. I have
I
the
don't
comparison
take
up
away.
here. So real quick, I'll go back to the YouTube version here. This is Brutus, and Pete, this is Goldar.
It's exactly the same.
There's no okay. First of all, that's Thanos. Let's just put it out there.
I got down a little bit too.
That's Thanos and Brutus. They had a baby and made Goldar, and there's no way this guy's name's Goldar.
It is Goldar.
Jeez.
This is literally like
Could
this.
you imagine? Could you imagine if in Star Wars the big bad villain to come out in the new movie in 2026 was Goldar because he was gold? They'd rip this guy to shreds.
I mean, Marvel has the Silver Surfer, and he's silver.
All right, but that made more sense. This guy wears a golden helmet. He's Goldar.
His whole body plating is gold.
It's body plating though. He's not gold.
Yeah,
It's like me wearing the green shirt and like saying I'm the green guy. Like what do we?
saying you're the
Makes
Green
sense.
Giant.
I mean, I'm not a giant.
But
It's
like,
false advertising. That's all I'm saying. He's wearing gold armor. He's not gold.
yeah, I do think it's funny we managed to sneak a Goldar reference into a Star Wars podcast.
I mean, we've snuck in a Power Rangers reference with the Power Rangers from Boba Fett, so it's not far off for us.
Yeah, I'm surprised that you knew that, but not who Goldar is.
It's fine.
All right, and let's have a look here. We'll go to the grades of the episode on a scale of 1 to 10. 1's worse than 70. Holiday Special. 10 is up there with the Prison Break episode of Andor in terms of the pinnacle of live action Star Wars content. Pete, you can kick us off here. So, what do you think about the episode here? What's your grade on it?
So I'm gonna give it a 9. I thought it was really, really good, almost perfect. What would make it more perfect for me if there was more action, because that's just what I like. It's a preference thing. It's not a knock at what they did. Character development was great. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time thinking what's going to happen next. And then the cliffhanger they leave on is also really good, sets up the finale really, really well. So it's a 9.
Nick,
9.5.
very excited.
Yep.
Vin,
Yeah, I'm gonna give it an 8.5. I liked it. I wish a little bit more happened, but I really enjoyed the episode. I thought it was great.
I'm gonna side with Vin. You give the 8.5. I feel like cut in the middle. I understand why I'm only giving the 8.5. I think like if you saw the full thing, I think the full thing's gonna end up being a 10 if you put 7 and 8 together.
Agreed.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think.
Maybe.
Yeah.
All right.
I feel like there's something really stupid that Disney does. Like, you're running with this weekly model of comparison to Netflix, who's doing the binge model.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you release your episodes in a way that they don't rely on another episode? Or if you're going to insist on having episodes rely on each other, release 2 at a time.
It's the idea is that they want to keep people talking about it. That's the whole thing.
No, I get that. I agree with it. But for the case of like Acolyte 4 and 5, you can release them all weekly, but just say this week there's going to be 2 of them.
Yeah, I think though the
Because
issue
they work well instead of cutting them in the middle.
I think it's a plotting issue. I think is they want to max the amount of weeks they have with this show. So you're doing the multi-episode drops at the top.
Let me tell you something. With the amount of content we got prior to this show about this show being slim to none, this show would have benefited if they just released the whole damn thing at once and you binged it.
Yeah.
It's still great. Don't get me wrong. It's still great. I still enjoy it. I think the weekly model works fine, but
This would be a great binge show.
you could have just dropped the whole thing, and then if you wanted to watch it, you could have watched episodes 6, 7, and 8 all at once, and just gotten that like huge kind of finale in an hour and a half, right? So or whatever I don't know what the last episode's going to be.
Hey, what if they did the what if model where you dropped it daily for like a week?
I don't think people are going to be talking about it. Like, I just don't think that's going to be effective. Either you do it weekly or you just drop it. I don't think daily is going to do anything. I don't think we're following this show that intently.
I actually disagree that this show would have benefited from a binge, and I'll explain why. First of all, no one's watching this show. We know that already. They're not in the top 10 any week
Yeah,
on streaming services. I don't think they have been maybe the first week or if
they,
were
they,
they?
they weren't.
Yeah, they weren't at all, which is the first time a Star Wars show has ever not been, right?
Oh, Acolyte towards the end dropped.
Acolyte was at the beginning.
Yes.
This is the first show that's never been in the top 10.
Yeah.
If this show came out all at once, there wouldn't. So now I'd have to see the numbers week by week to make this theory completely true. But I'm thinking like every single week, you would think more people are watching because word of mouth is that this show is good. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, this show's actually good. You should watch it. You should watch it. If it came out all at once, people would just say, I'm not watching that, and then it would go away.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get the word of mouth out there.
I
Wouldn't
think
it-
also the issue is time of year too, because you have to remember this is holidays
Yeah.
way through. So I think like doing
You're competing with Netflix, probably second biggest show ever.
Yep.
But I'm confused. Wouldn't a binge model then work in their favor? Because the people who are going to watch it were going to watch it regardless if it was released all at once or weekly. There's still people where I tell them to this day, hey, this show's been really good week to week. They still haven't watched it. So I think if it was a binge show, the people who were going to watch it are going to watch it. They would have got through it. They would have loved it and said, look, it's good start to finish. Watch it. And the people who wanted to watch it will go and watch it anyway. I don't know if weekly, especially with drops on Christmas and New Year's,
Yeah.
I don't know if weekly was helping them versus I think it's going to be the same. I don't think to us, to a fan that's liking it, a binge model would work better because you don't have to wait a week to watch what the finale happens. It gets you excited, gets you talking. I agree. But I don't think viewership numbers were going to drop or increase if it was a binge versus weekly model.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll have to judge on that here because it's also worth noting here that with the finale coming up here, like I think like if you get word of mouth here, and remember, P also Disney Plus does not do binge drops or anything. I think the one exception was Echo last year from Marvel. They dropped all 5 episodes at once, but that was an experiment with Hulu. But they have not like of their own accord. Okay, we'll give you the entire season of a show right now.
Yeah, I would be very interested what the numbers look like in a month.
Yeah.
If they go up after the finale happens, if you know what I'm saying, I'm very curious to see what happens after the finale drops and give it some time for people to get to it. I'd be very curious about those numbers.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on those numbers going forward here in the news department here. But last up here, finale predictions. Nick, you can go first here.
Man, this is tough. I think we lost Jod. I think he's the main villain of the show now.
Yeah, so
So I think Jod is gonna lose. I don't know how he loses, but lose. He's not gonna have his cash at the end or his crew. We're gonna be happily ever after, but I think that the supervisor is gonna be like revealed in a way that sets up a future for this show or characters. Not, I don't think there will be future for this show, but it'll leave it open ended that there can be based on the supervisor.
Vin.
Yeah, so I think we're going to find out who the supervisor is. I think it's going to be, the captain. I wouldn't be surprised if something came from the rafters that connected it to the larger Star Wars universe. Just because that's usually what they do. And I feel like it's going that way, whether or not it's, Jod being a youngling or a Padawan or something like that. And I think it's going to have a happy ending. It's a kid's show. It's 100% going to have a happy ending. It's just how we get there. Yeah, I'm confused. I don't know how Jod's going to get out of this. He's only one guy surrounded by a planet, and he only has a lightsaber. So,
He does have a whole crew of pirates waiting on the other side of the barrier.
true. And they're going to have to be really creative with how they get down there. So,
Yeah, I think for me, it's obvious Ja loses and the At Attin people sort of get reunited here. I'm going to go with a big picture thing. I think that happens that like will sort of tease out season 2, but like a season 2 or a future for these characters. It doesn't have to be addressed. I think the barrier gets taken down in this episode. I think At Attin gets exposed to the larger galaxy at the end of the show. that gives you the freedom to have, so if you want to have a storyline, oh, these people get awakened to what's really going on in the galaxy. You got outside forces coming in the future. Maybe some of our legacy characters can stop by if they want. I think the barrier gets taken down. I think that's my big statement on the show. I think that we're going to have a way to visit this planet easily in the future if we want. Pete, last one.
All right. So I think Jod has been calculating since the beginning of this show. And I think that he's going to use his Jedi powers a lot more in the finale. He has a lot of ways he can be going against people, and he just doesn't. He just lets it happen, right? He gets captured. He lets that happen. He goes along with these kids because he's like, I can't get anywhere without a ship. He lets that happen. So I think we're going to have a lot more of the Force in the finale. And I think the only way to combat that is with someone who also knows how to use the Force, which I think will be the Supervisor. And I think the reason why the captain had a lightsaber in his treasure hunt dungeons because he was also Force sensitive. So I think we're going to tie it in that way, Vin. I think that's going to kind of be like this is Star Wars still kind of thing. That's the only thing I think of. I think that everyone else has really good opinions on it, and I can see it happening. But I do think we're going to get, how do you defeat a Jedi without another Jedi?
I think you're right now that I hear that, because especially with Wim and Neil being obsessed with Jedi and the Jedi lore, these kids need Jedi. These kids need a Jedi. You know what I mean? By the end of the series, so yeah, I completely agree with you, Pete. I think that's a really good prediction.
Yeah, Nick, we're one episode away also figuring out if the actor plays Wim, if his dad violated an NDA or not on our TikTok.
I knew that's what you were gonna say. Yeah, ridiculous. A quick side note before we get there, just so you know, I did some research to see like episode count or views. They don't really have the data released, but you can get somewhere, and this is so odd, so I wanted to bring it up. The most watched episode by a long shot, and we don't have numbers, it's just basically just AI telling me this. Episode 5, which was Christmas Eve release.
Yeah.
So that little stupid plan that we complained about looks like it worked.
Yeah, I told you, you gotta drink some spiked eggnog and watch Skeleton Crew on Christmas Eve after you win the presents.
I guess. But
is that numbers on the actual release date or just the episode watch in general?
In general.
Okay.
Well, for Vin's knowledge, what were you just saying, Mike, about the so Vin, so you know, we had someone comment on one of our TikToks who claims to be the father of the child actor who plays Wim.
Okay.
And he had the same last name as the actor who plays Wim, and he looks a lot like Wim, but an older version. So I kind of believe it, but also not really, because he said, we were talking about our character draft, and we showed our predictions on screen, I believe, or at least one of our picks.
Yeah,
he said, this is all wrong. That it's all wrong. He's been on set. He's seen the scripts. And there'll be no connection to the larger Star Wars universe. Which, if he wrote that, what did Max say? Like he would be like
he said he's basically violating the NDA if that's accurate.
Yeah. So I mean he looks just like him. So I find it hard to believe that it's not him. But I feel like there's no way he's telling the truth.
Yes.
Yeah, it seems really obscure, but who knows?
I mean, apart from the Hutt twin, he's been right.
Would you want to discuss this with like Disney's lawyers? I don't think so.
Oh, it's not our job to do that.
No, I mean him.
Well, I don't
think if you're him, would you want to go that route where you're saying things out loud and then have a discussion with Disney's lawyers, or would you rather just keep your mouth shut?
I don't know. It's very strange. But anyway, we'll be back next week. See if this NDA was violated. We'll cover the finale of this show. So, Vin, thanks again for popping in. Always a lot of fun chatting with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was great discussion. Love doing it.
Yep. And Pete, if you want to follow you on social media, I can do that.
At Consy29 on Twitter, CONSY29. AP Tower 308, create the background I'm using on Zoom here. So make sure you check them out on Reddit.
Okay, Nick, one more time. If you want to follow us on social media, I can do that.
At SkyGuys Podcast on Instagram, Twitter X, and TikTok.
You can also follow me on social media, mphillips331. It's MPHILIPS331. This is where we're on the Just and the Suffering podcast. They had a busy show over there. Joe Delvizio stopped by to help me preview the NFL playoffs, their playoff picks for the wild card round, and Pete, friend of the Sky Guy Sandra Rosa stop, I did our pop culture preview 2025, and she's very high on Andor too.
Yeah, I mean that's always a great episode when you do it. So I'm definitely excited to check that out.
Yeah, so that's coming up here on just on the Suffering feed. We'll be back next week for the finale of Skeleton Crew. Hard to believe it's almost over already, but until then, may the Force be with you.